Como é que é, pessoal? Bem-vindos novamente ao Undergrounds Voice ao vivo. Hoje tenho a honra de conhecer o Daniel, baterista dos lendários Carcass. Man, thank you so much for being here. It's a huge honor to meet you and to receive you here at Underground's Voice. I'm a huge fan of Carcass, so I'm really happy to receive you. Welcome.
No worries, man. Thank you for having me. Thank you for taking the time. And yeah, it's cool to chat. Thanks, man.
My pleasure. Well, the new album, Torn Arteries, will be released on September 17. But before we talk about it, you guys released the EP Despicable last year. Is it an independent release, or can we consider it as an introduction to this new album?
I guess a little bit of both, really, because it was actually all of those songs were recorded at the same time as. So the album and the EP songs were all recorded and written as part of the same thing, but the songs that we put on the EP were the songs that they were kind of the songs we didn't think were good enough for the album. So so they're kind of like, yeah, I guess they're kind of like B-sides as it were. But it's kind of cool because so many people ended up really liking those songs. So I mean, yeah, so hopefully if people like those ones, then they'll like the album ones even more because we thought those ones weren't that good. So that's why we put them on the EP. But yeah, so it's kind of they kind of feed into each other, you know, because they're all written and recorded at the same time. But the album definitely has more the songs kind of work together more, I think, and they've got kind of more common thread. The EP was just, you know, the few songs that we didn't really feel were as strong as the others. So hopefully all the ones on the album are super strong.
Well, the EP is great. So, I already
Cool, man.
listened. Yeah, I already listened the album several times, and in my opinion, more than being the logical continuation of Surgical Steel, it shows an even more definitive cut with your roots as a band. It's still very heavy and fast, of course, but more and more groovy with an approach to rock sometimes. Am I right?
Yeah, I guess so. I think, you know, I think you'd have to probably ask Bill a bit more because he kind of writes the riffs. And Jeff to an extent as well. I mean, Bill actually physically writes the riff, and then
Yeah, yeah.
me and Jeff kind of help to change them a bit to make them, you know, I guess work slightly better in a musical kind of sense. But yeah, I think, you know, Bill's just being honest with where he is as a guitar player, and I think he's not where he was when, you know, they were doing Recaputrefaction and Symphonies. He's plays differently now. He listens to different things, and I think yeah, the album is a reflection of kind of where he is as a player, and I think where the band is as a band, because you know with Surgical Steel, that was kind of a really fast kind of, you know, there were lots of blast beats, lots of thrash, and I think after touring that for like, you know, 6 years, we were all just like, whew. I don't think we need to do any more of that. So, but I think naturally there's those elements because it's Carcass and there's always going to be blast beats. There's always going to be, you know, kind of the more traditional stuff. But yeah, I think it's just, I guess, evolution and yeah, I think it's just a lot more where Bill is as a riff writer now than he was even on Surgical Steel. I think on Surgical Steel he still had a lot of riffs that he hadn't used yet from the old days, probably. But
Probably. And how's being the reactions from everyone about these songs, these new songs?
I mean, yeah, like especially Kelly's Meat Emporium. That was across the board. Everybody was kind of like, "Oh yeah, Carcass is back," you know, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Dance of Ixtab. That, as I'm sure you can imagine, there was. I wouldn't say it was polarized, but there was a lot of people that were kind of like, "Oh, you know, I wasn't expecting this," because, you know, Kelly's Meat Emporium was so, I guess, blasty and thrashy and that's kind of why we chose Dance of Ixtab because it kind of shows the two sides of the album. That, you know, there's groovy bits and there's also really fast blasty stuff, and then obviously the album comes out Friday, yeah, Friday, and
Yeah.
yeah, there'll be another song released which kind of is a kind of mixture of those two as well. Yeah, so I think yeah, I think the reaction's been really positive. Definitely, Dance of Ixtab had a few more negative things, but I think that was more people just being like, we thought it was going to be blast beats. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's been good, I think.
Well, and the artwork is quite different from the usual, much cleaner comparing to the previous ones. Is it a change that is also seen in the message of the album, or it's just a different cover?
Yeah, again, I'm not really sure. The artwork stuff is always Jeff's thing, and he kind of told us his rough idea, and me and Bill didn't really understand it. I think when he first, when he first, because a heart made out of vegetables, we were just a bit like, what?
It's weird.
So I think, yeah, exactly. And I don't think his final vision of it was how it ended up. I think because he gave the idea to a guy who had wanted to work with the band for a long time, and I think Jeff gave him the idea, and he took it in his own direction. And when we got it back, all of us were a bit like, "Wow, this is different." Um, but I think for me that was great, and I know for Jeff wanted that. Jeff wanted something different, and Bill was kind of the same. I think it's like there's not that there's anything bad about it, but there's a lot of album covers that are skulls and blood, all that stuff. And I think to do something a bit different is cool because it hopefully it grabs some more people's attention.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I think again, Carcass is kind of known for doing different things every album. So um, trying to just keep that going, trying to keep people guessing, I guess.
It's normal for a band to release albums every 2 or 3 years. It doesn't happen with Carcass. There are always big gaps between releases, and thanks to that, a Carcass album is always an important happening in the metal world, I think. It's easy to deal with the high expectation and constant pressures for the new music that you guys are subjected for.
Did you say is it hard to deal with the pressure?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm honest, like as far as I'm aware, I don't feel any pressure. I mean, I think Bill and Jeff will definitely feel more pressure than me because it's their legacy. So but I think it's funny though because with this one, with torn arteries, we definitely felt more pressure, even though everyone was like, "Oh, this must have been easier than surgical steel to make," but it was actually a lot harder because surgical steel was kind of like um there was kind of no pressure because no one knew what to expect. They didn't know if it was going to be, super fast. They didn't know if it was going to be Swan Song Part Two. So either way it went, I don't. People had absolutely no idea what it was going to be like, and that even up until close to when it was released, we weren't even sure if we were going to release it. We were thinking of like, maybe let's write these songs and maybe let's make an album. I don't know. Let's see. So yeah, there wasn't really, and there was no, we didn't have a label at the time, so there was no pressure from the label. So, but then Surgical Steel came out and it did really well. So with this one, it was like, oh crap, we got to do it again. So, and I think, yeah, so I think, again, Bill and Jeff are the main guys, and Bill especially being the main songwriter. I think I'm sure he felt a lot of pressure to deliver I guess what the fans want, but also to do
Yeah.
something that's honest to himself and that's different from Surgical Steel. So, but yeah, I'm just the drummer, I guess. So I didn't feel too much pressure. I just wanted to do as best drumming as I could. I guess that was the only pressure I felt.
Well, you did an amazing work.
Thanks, man. Thank you very much.
Uh, for me, the best thing about Carcass is the constant ability to reinvent yourselves over the years and over the albums. I mean, you can release the grind album, a dead and roll album, an album with thrash influence, and it always sounds like Carcass. And few bands can do it. Do you think that's one of the reasons you've became such a legendary band? I mean, Carcass is not only a band; Carcass is a cult.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess so. And I think seeing again because before I joined the band, I was a huge, huge fan of the band. So it was really interesting to see how it all works. And I think a huge part of the sound is just because you know, they don't really, that both Bill and Jeff, they don't get wrapped up in how they should sound. You know, they don't really think about what people want, or what direction they should go in. They kind of just do what they think sounds good. And especially Bill, like he doesn't even listen to metal. Like he hasn't listened to metal since I guess the early 90s. So the amount of times we mention a big metal band that from the past 15
Yeah.
years, and he's like, who are you talking about? So I think because he's so removed from from metal and what you know typically what metal should sound like. I think he kind of brings something that's it's so far out of the metal realm that it's, and I guess he's always done that, and he's still the same guy that was doing all that stuff back then, and he was still trying to push the boundaries back in the day as well. So yeah, I think, and Jeff as well. I think Jeff's such a big part of it because he arranges a lot of the music, and his arrangements, like normally me and Bill start writing the songs together, and then we make a version of it, and then Jeff comes in and he just completely changes it. And when we first start, we're just like, what? That sounds rubbish. But then when we get used to it, and then when he adds his vocals on, it makes so much more sense. So I think there's something about those two guys and kind of their attitudes to music that makes it always sound like Carcass. They just kind of, they don't really care about, yeah, what's popular, what's trendy, what they should be doing. They just kind of do what they think sounds cool, which I think that's the secret, I guess. I mean, it's worked, I guess, so far. So
Yeah, it worked. And talking a little bit about you, and I feel you're the right man in the right place in this moment. And I see a lot of people thinking the same way. And I've seen Kelly's Meat Emporium drum playthrough some weeks ago, and your happiness playing is visible and contagious. And so, how amazing is being on the same band as legends like Jeff and Bill?
Yeah, but well, firstly, thank you very much. That's very kind of you to say that. And yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm just living the dream. Like as I said, before I joined the band, I was a huge fan of it. And in my previous bands, I always used to play covers of Carcass, like
Yeah.
Heartwork, This Mortal Coil, and Recapitulation, like all the classics. I knew those songs already. So I always remember there was a moment. The first shows we ever did were in London when I joined the band, in 2013, I think, just before Surgical Steel was released. But and yeah, the whole day was like a crazy blur. But I remember we finished with Heartwork, and I counted it in, and we played it, and there was a moment where in my head I was like, wow, you're not playing a cover anymore. You're actually in the band. And it was like, yeah, it was just a crazy, mind blowing moment. But yeah, so yeah, long story short, it's still kind of, it blows my mind that I'm talking to you as the drummer of Carcass, which is just crazy. But yeah, at the same time, I've been with them, I guess, 10 years, so they are just Bill and Jeff now. But
Yeah.
but but also, yeah, every now and again I remind myself like how legendary they are, and yeah, how incredibly lucky I am to be in this position. So yeah.
It's true. And you guys have a scheduled show here in Portugal for next year with Arch Enemy and Behemoth in Lisbon. We really hope that can finally happen. So, what do you
So do we.
expect? Yeah. What do you expect about this tour with this huge lineup, and what can you expect to for the Portuguese show?
Good question. I mean, like it's hard to imagine now being on tour because we haven't been on tour for so long. But
Yeah.
things seem to be opening up again now, which is good. And hopefully by next year, oh man, I really hope we can come down there. But yeah, it will be kind of cool because hopefully by that point the album will have been out for a while, and
Yeah.
people will know the songs. So hopefully we can play some more stuff off of the album. So that will be quite exciting. And it'll be really cool to be with those bands because, like, obviously, Carcass and Arch Enemy have history, and everybody's good for it. Like Bill and Jeff were telling me, they've been keeping in touch with Mike Amott over the last couple of years. Um, just friendly text messaging here and there, which is nice. And yeah, I'm I'd speak to Daniel Alanson from Arch Enemy quite a bit every now and again. We keep in touch like drum nerds, and and Behemoth as well. Like I've known Behemoth for years. I toured with those guys when I used to play in a band called Aborted. We toured together years ago, so we've seen each other for yeah. So yeah, it's just going to be a kind of friends reunion
It is.
thing. So it's going to be really good fun. Yeah, I think we're all just really hoping that it happens, man. And I think, yeah, dude, coming back to Portugal will be sick. We haven't been to Portugal in ages. I can't even remember the last time we were there. It's always fun. It's always fun. Crowds are always good. That's one thing that can be said about Portugal. Always, crowds go crazy.
It's true. Well, last time it was 10 years ago, I think. I was there. It was at Val.
Oh yeah, that's right. God, was it that long? Yeah, I guess it was like
2000.
2014, maybe
I can
14.
remember that. Yeah, probably.
But it was yeah, I remember that festival.
Yeah,
That was a long time.
it was a
That was a
long
long
time
time ago.
ago. Yes,
Yeah,
it was really a
yeah.
long
So we
time
need to
ago.
go back to Portugal, basically. So
We're waiting.
I hope it happens, man. I really hope it happens, and if it does, I think all the bands are going to be super excited. So I think we're all going to bring the best that we can, and hopefully we'll be able to play after that long off. I mean, I think most of us are going to be doing festivals over the summer next year, hopefully again. So I think we'll be at least warmed up so that we can go for it hard again on tour, hopefully. But yeah, so if it happens, it's going to be incredible. So yeah,
I'll be there for sure. And
awesome, man.
finally, thank you so much for being here once again. It was a huge honor to receive you at Underground's Voice. So, any last words for the Portuguese fans and Underground's Voice viewers?
Well, yeah. Firstly, thanks for having me again. And yeah, to the fans, thank you so much for waiting for so long for this album. I hope you're not. I hope you're not disappointed, and I hope you love it as much as we do. And I really, really hope we can see you next year, and have some fun together and drink some beers and go crazy. And yeah, thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Please stay safe and see you soon here in Portugal. Thank
Absolutely, man. Thank you so
you
much
for
for
your
your time.
time. Thank you.
Awesome. Cheers, man. Thanks.